Unfortunately, like most of us, the first time you really consider therapy is when you're lying on the floor in the fetal position, probably wishing that you dealt with some of this stuff
Wow, Harry actually made it in the 11th hour. They did say the Invictus documentary would be coming out in August. There were some naysayers that thought maybe it won't be, but he has delivered on his $100 million contract, honey, and he has put in his series. Leilani of Barbados here. I will be reviewing all of the episodes of the Heart of Invictus Netflix documentary. Today we will start with episode 1, and I will have several videos coming up to finish the episode. So let's start with episode 1, shall we? I just want to say at the top of this, much respect to all of the veterans who participate in the Invictus Games. This was an amazing documentary. Okay, spoiler alert. But I will also tell you about the shade, the Meghan claw that does insert itself sometimes, and you'll get the whole rundown from me. Believe me, I am here for it. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Invictus Games is what I would think of as a special Olympics. The Invictus Games was modeled after the Warrior Games in the United States. Harry founded the Invictus Games in 2014 as a Paralympic style event designed to inspire military veterans around the world as they work to overcome battlefield injuries. The Invictus Games occurs every 2 years, and the host country changes every 2 years. These are the participating nations: Australia, Belgium, Canada, Colombia, Denmark, Estonia, France, Georgia, Germany, Israel, Italy, Jordan, Netherlands, New Zealand, Nigeria, Poland, Republic of Korea or South Korea, obviously not North Korea, United Kingdom, Ukraine, Romania, and United States of America. So that's great. That's a pretty good mix. Now, the Invictus Games is a time for these veterans to be trained as athletes and compete as athletes, and it also gives them an opportunity to become
the best version of yourself. The version of yourself that you missed, that your spouses missed, that your kids missed.
Indeed, I find it to be a very honorable event. As you know, with the Olympics and with any event where people have dedicated their time and energy and their talent, you know it doesn't take much content to move you emotionally. It's kind of a cheat to get emotion out of people. I want to say that for somebody like Harry, who has devastated himself in terms of content with his Spare, Harry and Meghan documentary, and Oprah interview, and even the Spotify podcast. Collectively as a couple, they have devastated themselves in terms of people relating to them. So I just want to make that clear that this content is based on the athletes and the veterans. We first start out with Harry being interviewed. I thought they took my advice, which was really great, and cropped out his upper half of his body so that we don't have to see the Meghan-esque gesticulations of his hands, which are super cringe. And we begin with our first athlete, who is from Ukraine. She's a paramedic who served in the military for 7 years, and her name is Yulia Tyra Pivitska. The injuries that she has sustained is that she has metal shards in her legs. She has suffered 2 heart attacks. Her sport is archery, and I saw a clip of her also participating in swimming. She's a very interesting character. Her personality is very stoic, as you might expect for stereotypically, Eastern Bloc, but she also has a great sense of humor. She's very much a comedian. She gives as good as she takes with her male compadres.
Я понял, да. Не сиська, можешь подержать. Так, спокуха. Ну дайте морду всунуть.
And I really found her to be the embodiment of a strong, independent woman. And then we do cut to the board for Invictus Games Ukraine, where this very scripted moment happens. One of the board members suddenly asks,
"But will Prince, the Duke of Sussex and his wife present? Can we expect him?"
Absolutely.
That would make their day. I just don't see that in the middle of a board meeting about organizing these games in the middle of a pandemic and all the other things that have to go on there. I just don't know why they'd mention Harry's wife. He started this, when did he start it? 2014, way before Meghan. Also, why can't they refer to her as Meghan? Like, it's getting so old. The Duchess, Harry's wife, just Meghan Markle, that's her professional name. It's so forced to keep saying wife and Duchess and all these things. So from the Ukraine, we cut to New York City, USA for the 2022 One Young World Summit. And this is where we see Meghan Markle in all her red dress nipple glory. Remember that red dress?
haven't done this for a while.
I know.
My heart.
Remember those nipples? And here I find Harry to be very disingenuous because he talks about the fact that he had all these heebie-jeebies, adrenaline running through his veins, which was very positive and made him feel excited and all that to do this public appearance with Meghan Markle in her red nipple dress. However, as you know, in his previous documentaries, books, and so on and so forth, he talks about how upsetting it was for him to make public appearances. And this same adrenaline was in a very negative light. He felt anxious, he felt nervous, he felt distressed, and he would break out in sweats and all these things. And suddenly, when he's with Meghan, he is happy and excited to do public appearances.
My heart.
When arguably the public appearances he was doing when he was in public service in the royal family was a much more genuine endeavor. But not only that, but to think that this is a man of 30 odd years old, okay? And he is just going to talk about how brainwashed he is, that when he does an appearance with Meghan the Markle, he's fine, he's excited, he's happy. But when he has done, so imagine being brainwashed is what I'm saying at 30-something-year-old man. To be brainwashed by a 2-bit actress like Meghan Markle, to take on all of her personality traits and her gesticulations and her cadence and speaking and all of that. I mean, really? From there, we flash back to Harry's service in Afghanistan. He was there for 10 weeks before he was removed from Afghanistan because someone leaked that he was there, but he still had enough to talk about in the spare, right? With his kill total and all that. I think most of us know the phrase, recollections may vary, and I think it's very apt to apply to his service in Afghanistan. His recollections may vary, right? So he was taken out of service and he was put on a plane with wounded soldiers to go safely home to his palace and his home and his privilege. And he thought that was a very traumatic experience because he was sat with injured soldiers. And he was upset that he was taken out. But at the same time, dude, you're a whole man, just healthy, being taken back to the comfort of your palace home, your palatial home, and people are suffering on the plane with you. The juxtaposition between you suffering from having to go back to the palace and people suffering for their lives is, you can't put those two things in the same room.
Typical British soldier would just turn around and go, oh no, I'm fine, so I'm fine, you know, I've lost my arm, I didn't like that arm anyway, or something like that.
They cut to Lincolnshire, UK, where we meet our third athlete. British Army veteran Tom Falwell gives his story of his injuries. He was a mechanic and he served 2 tours in Iraq and half a tour in Afghanistan. He was blown up and lost both his legs. He also sustained injuries to his back and forearm and has pins in his wrists. His sport is that he is a UK wheelchair rugby player.
Close it down, close it down. Go with Tom, go with Tom.
This gentleman's character is very endearing. He is very humbled. He is very self-doubting in a way. He became a captain of the rugby team and then also a captain of the basketball team.
Lots of people have self-doubt, don't they? Perhaps it's just needed that somebody gives them the push to bring that out of them. Tom's journey, I don't know. I named him as a captain. And hopefully it's been the right choice. Let's see what he's like when he's under fire, as they say. That'll be another story.
But yeah, he talks about his PTSD and his inability to communicate well, or so he thought, because obviously he overcame it by becoming captain of these teams. But he's very, very humble about himself and he's still working it out. I just love him. He's a really, really important character and I'm sure we're going to see more of him in the future. We cut to the Netherlands and we talk about how the pandemic affected the 2020 games that were supposed to be held at The Hague and that the games have been postponed until April 2022. Nothing much to see there except that Harry, of course, is in his marbled Montecito mansion reporting from the big desk of where Harry and Meghan work very hard to do hardly nothing. But anyway, these are the Zoom calls that they were doing at the time. They mentioned that the athletes are allowed to compete in 3 different sports. I think we covered that. Harry says the games don't focus on what caused the injury? Yeah, of course not. But then he just leaves us hanging there. He doesn't say what then is the focus of the games.
But really about the recovery from that injury and how to be part of a community again.
Not sure. We cut to Seoul, South Korea. There is an Invictus 2022 orientation meeting. We meet our third athlete. His name is Nya Hyung Noon, and he is a South Korea Army veteran. His injuries are his hands, and he has prosthetics on his hands, which are really well done, by the way. You can barely tell that they are not real hands. He was electrocuted and had to undergo an amputation on his hands. His sport is cycling. I think that particular athlete, his importance was centered around how his country sees him and how the cultural implications are around being disabled in his country. So that was an insight that was important for us to see. It cuts to Florida, USA, and we meet our fourth athlete, who is Gabriel Gabe George. He is an American Navy veteran. His injury was that he had a motorcycle accident and an arm amputation, which occurred at the shoulder, it looked like. He's still in a lot of pain. In fact, his doctor compares his pain levels to labor pain.
My doctors have told me most of the time that they describe it as a labor pain. You're in labor over and over, and you're never going to deliver this baby.
Girl. He says he has to keep very active and keep moving because the activities he does, especially the sports for the Invictus games, keep his mind off the pain. His sport is archery. He uses his teeth to pull back the arrow. And that just sent me. Like, that was... He also has a very strong personality. He's a strong man. He's not about the medication. He's trying to find alternative methods. Harry has a good thing going here. We cut back again to the Invictus Games headquarters meetings where Harry is, of course, reporting from the Montecito Mansion once again, which is so cringe. And, of course, they're talking about how important it is to pay attention to the nuances that occur with these type of athletes, the veteran athletes, and making their lives more comfortable and making their training more comfortable and making their competition more comfortable, given all the things that they are going through. So they have these big board meetings and we get it. Okay. And we get that Harry is in the Montecito Marble Cave. And that brings us to the end of the episode. They run the credits. I was looking with my eagle eye to see if Meghan Markle was listed in the credits. She's not. Doria Ragland is also not when it comes to makeup artists and hair, because you know that's what her job was before. In Hollywood, she was a makeup artist. And that's how she met Thomas Markle as a lighting director and a makeup artist. But she is not working on this project as a makeup artist. Archwell is mentioned along with about 25 million different other production companies. So I don't know. By the way, guys, I saw Doria was with the Kardashians and I was just wondering the whole time if Kim Kardashian was thinking in her head.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
Yeah, because what does Doria do? Where does she work? What's her job? I think that Meghan lets her mom out for walkies every once in a while. And so there you go. I have no other reason to believe that she was there for a purpose. But I just want to say this disclaimer at the end. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to allow Harry to take credit for these people's stories. I am not going to let him use this platform of these people's heartfelt stories to slander the royal family once again.
The biggest struggle for me was the people, no one around me really could help. I didn't have that support structure, that network, or that expert advice to identify what was actually going on with me.
Don't mind, right, that the whole of Harley Street was at his beck and call. Harley Street is the street in London where the best specialists and surgeons operate out of. And you can go to any of these specialists if you're Prince Harry. In fact, they will come to you. You don't even have to go to them. He has had access to the best medical care that money can buy, the best psychiatrists. They can come through the back door of the palace. They can come through the front door. He can go to them. The money is there to pay for that. And I'm not going to let him use this Invictus Games to say that he is traumatized. I'm not going to let this Invictus Games let him put his PTSD of crying on the floor as compared to people who cannot play with their children, not only because of their physical disability, but also because of their mental disability that has resulted from long years of service and battlefield. Like, I'm not going to let that happen. I think we will also see in the upcoming episodes where Megan puts her claw in. So I'll be watching out for all of that. Thank you so much for watching me. And if you like this video, please subscribe, press the bell notifications, and definitely I will be coming out with episode by episode. I will be paying very close attention to what happens here. So please stick with me. Love you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Please subscribe to Valentine's Playroom. It's my son's children channel. So if you have any bambinos around who might enjoy adventures with an island boy, share his channel with them, please. Thank you.